Hello, hi, or welcome to my kitchen. So it is Sunday, it is dreary and drizzly outside, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna bake something. Now, bake is using a loose term here because this is one of the easiest recipes you will ever make. Honestly, it's been a staple of my diet for years and years now. I swear this is one of the recipes that got me through university because you can meal prep it for breakfast, you can have it as a snack. It is so versatile and I love it. All you're gonna need is literally some bananas. So these are frozen bananas because I always have a massive stash of frozen bananas in my freezer. I buy a lot of them in bulk, I suppose you'd say, but there's only one of me. So inevitably some of them go brown. Peel them, freeze them, job done. And if you've never gotten a frozen banana and like cut it into little slices and eaten it as is, you have missed out on something in your life, and I need you to go and try that. So anyway, in my bowl here, I've got 200 grams of frozen bananas. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna microwave this for 1 minute and I'm gonna mash it all up. If you don't have frozen bananas, skip the microwave step, obviously, and just smash them up as is in your bowl. I then have some whey protein. Now I'm using the Perform whey, and I've found that when it comes to baking, you really do want to use a whey blend or a whey concentrate. If you use a whey protein isolate, it's gonna come out quite chewy. The texture is gonna be a little bit strange. This does also work quite well with a plant-based protein. So if you're in the UK, I actually have no idea what brands the plant proteins are here. If you're in Australia, this would work so well with Macro Mike, Prana. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but Macro Mike would be an absolute winner for this recipe. While I'm in the UK, or I mean, I'm gonna be in the UK forever, I don't know what I'm on about. I use the Perform whey, which is a blend of isolate and concentrate. I'm using the Neapolitan today just because it's the flavor that I have, but honestly, you could use any flavor with this. I assume it works with other whey proteins as well. As I already said, with an isolate, not so much, but I can't really speak for all other proteins just because I haven't tried it out. So, got my banana, I've got my whey protein, I have my oats. I love these flavor hands. I like this Irish brand of oats. They're a lot finer than normal oats. I don't know if you can really see it on camera very well. Let me just take the little scoop out. They're just really fine, and I like that. It's less chewier. And as you'll see, one of the steps is to mix everything together and then leave it in the fridge for a few hours. I just find that when I use these oats, and for some reason you can only get the quick ones in this little tub. So in the supermarkets, you can also get the sort of paper bag, but they're the traditional bigger ones. So just watch out for that. I just find I don't have to let the recipe sit for as long, which can be handy sometimes. I've then got my salt. Doesn't have to be pink salt. It can just be ordinary salt, because I'll add a pinch of salt there. And I also add in a little bit of sweetener. Now you don't have to add in any sweetener because obviously you've got the natural sweetness of the bananas and you've got the sweetener that will be in the protein powder. But I really love these skinny syrup barista drops, I think they're called. Barista, I don't know. Oh yeah, barista shots, that's it. You can get these from B&M, that's where I get mine from, but you can also get them off the website as well. I don't work with them or anything, I just really like these. I like the hazelnut praline. I've also tried the English toffee, which was okay. It was pretty average, to be honest. And I got the salted caramel today, but I haven't tried that yet, so I will let you know. Editing Amy from the future, coming at you. I tried the salted caramel drops and they are very good. I actually stirred it into my Greek yogurt and then I topped it with this Audi caramelized biscuit cereal. Mwah, chef's kiss, it was fantastic. But I just use literally 2 drops, which you'll see in the recipe. Gives it a nice little extra sweetness. All right, I'm gonna microwave these bananas and get the show on the road. I must also add as well, I used to add in about 10 grams of chia seeds into the recipe because it helped bulk it up a little bit. I'm intolerant to eggs. So if I could eat eggs, I'd probably chuck an egg or 2 egg whites into this recipe just to up the protein factor a little bit. It'll make the cookies a little bit fluffier and it'll just give them a bit of a nice puff and make them maybe a bit less chewy. I personally like the chewiness, but it is kind of not an acquired taste, but you'll know if you like chewy things or not. If you like things a little more flapjacky or if you like things a little bit more fluffy and airy, then add the egg. So as you can see now, I've kind of got it into a thick texture. It's not gonna seem cookie-esque right now, and that's why we leave it to sit for a little bit. So I would say that the minimum amount of time you want this batter to sit is about an hour. If you can, leave it a few hours, that really helps, especially if you're using like rolled traditional oats, or if you're using like a thicker quick oat, probably leave it for about 2 to 3 hours. But with this one, I know I'll be okay for an hour. You'll notice that it will thicken up. If you're using a plant-based protein, it may be a little bit thicker than this. I would caution against adding a little bit of milk in this, just because if it ends up being a little bit too sloppy, for lack of a better word, they won't cook right in the oven. So you do want it to be quite a thick texture. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pop this in the fridge, I'm gonna go out for a walk, and then I'm going to pop these onto a baking sheet and cook them. Hi, hello, I'm back from my walk. This honestly feels like my own cooking program. You don't know how long I have waited to have an aesthetic kitchen where I know I can film cooking videos and the lighting won't be too dark, or it won't be too ugly, or, you know, this is like a dream come true for me. Anyway, it has been, I'd say, about just over an hour. So this mix has been sitting in the fridge for that whole time, and it is quite a little bit thicker now. As you can probably tell, I don't know, it has thickened up. Now it's gonna be a lot more spoonable, that's for sure. There are a few different options you can do here. So for me, I know I want a batch of about 8 cookies, and I popped everything into my Fitness Pal, and I know that if this batch makes 8 cookies, they're about 85 calories each. That works in with the way that I like to snack on them, or I have 2 sometimes, or I'll have 1 and top it with Nutella and other yum stuff. But what you can also do here is you can divide it, say, into 2 servings or into 4 servings and cook it in a different shape. What I used to do back when I had to meal prep a lot of my breakfasts, and I didn't like eating oats out of Tupperware, I used to make a big batch of this, and I would make it in this mini, I don't know, like, you know, the loaf pans you would use for banana bread. I used to have a miniature version of this back in Australia, and so I would actually cook it in that, and then I would just wrap it in like cling film or something, or pop it in a sandwich bag and take it to work with me, and I know that I could just eat that, and it was kind of like a cake. I loved that. Or you could just pop it on a baking tray and make kind of one flat shape. You know, this is very open to interpretation. It's kind of a choose your own adventure kind of thing. But for me, I know I want about 8 cookies. Now, because I am a macro tracker, and because I like things to be quite precise, I'm gonna weigh this out. So the best way to do this, look, it can be a little bit of a faff, is I'm gonna pop you down here. I'm gonna take out the cutlery, which I've just done, and I am going to weigh, or zero this, I suppose you should say. So I'm turning on my food scales, and it says 0. Now what I'm gonna do from here is, using my rubber spatula, I really would recommend a rubber spatula. These are like £1 from IKEA, or just go somewhere cheap, buy one. It is a saving grace in the kitchen. Instead of having to spoon things out, just get yourself a rubber spatula. So this still says 0. My food scale still says 0. I pressed it again because I know I did just move it. And I'm going to spoon this mix out in 1. I'm gonna look at my bowl again. My bowl says 298. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop this back into the bowl, this little mixture here, and I'm just gonna round it up to 300 just because I can. I'm gonna go to my old calculator because my brain isn't what it used to be, and I'm going to work out what 300, you know what, the easiest way to do this is to just go, oh my God, that could have ended really badly. I'm gonna go 300 divided by 8, then from there that's gonna give me a figure. I'm guessing it's gonna be around 40, and then I'll show you the next step once I've calculated it. I'm back, I've used my calculator, and the number I got was 37.5. So what I'm gonna do now is I've got my mix back on here, I've made sure it's at 0. I am going to use the fork that I mashed it with, because don't be getting out other new utensils, just use what you have, it's no big deal. You don't need a spoon, you know, this is thick enough, you can use a fork. You know when you just wanna get like the exact figure? Get it off. This is 37. I'm gonna scoop that onto my baking tray. I'm gonna flatten it down. By the way, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be this precise. I just like to do this. I've got time on my hands to do this, so I figure I may as well. Not everyone should be doing this because it can be quite tiresome. Then I'm going to 0 my scales again. We go again. And that's 34, so I'm gonna scoop it out onto here and then just grab, this is where the fork comes in handy actually. Just grab a little bit more. Cool, 37. What will happen is I should end up with 8 really nice and even cookies. I'm gonna go ahead and do all these now, and I'll show you before I put them in the oven. By the way, before I turned the camera back on. I did pop on the oven to about 180 degrees. I think it's a fan forced oven. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I have also made these in my air fryer before, but keep in mind that if you make them in the air fryer, they'll probably only take about 5 to 10 minutes and the texture is slightly different. If you make them in the oven, I found that they're a little more moist, for lack of a better word. When I made them in the air fryer, they did just dry out very quickly. But what I do with these is I allow them to cool down, then I usually eat one, and then I put them straight in the freezer. I figure I'm not gonna eat them all within a few days anyway, because there's only one of me. They just stay so much fresher. I've been known to eat them directly from the freezer, and they're actually really quite nice. Or you can just defrost it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. The best thing about defrosting them in the microwave as well is that you can then top them with Nutella, with peanut butter, and they go all melty on top, and it's just a really, really good time. As I said earlier, I used to add chia seeds to this all the time. These days I'm too frugal. I'm like, oh, chia seeds are expensive, because they are. I also have added cinnamon to the batch quite a lot. Now I'm using a chocolate-based protein powder, so I wouldn't add cinnamon to these ones because, I don't know, look, argue with me all you want, but cinnamon and chocolate just shouldn't be a thing in my head. Oh, luckily these are just me eating these. My hair just went everywhere. You could add bits of chocolate. I've added that in before, definitely. That would be a good time. Or what you could do is pop a little square or half a square of chocolate on top of them before you cook them. You just have to be super, super careful there, because in the past, especially when you're using a milk chocolate, because it's a little bit higher in sugar, the chocolate can burn. So the cookies won't even be done yet, but the chocolate has more or less burnt, and then you're left with this burnt piece of chocolate on top of the cookie. And luckily that batch was just for me because it wasn't very good. I'm kind of struggling to fit these all on the tray here, but we're gonna get there. Got one more. I'm trying to think what else you could add in. Honestly, it's one of those, oh, I've added peanut butter on the top of my hair. Never cook with your hair down. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, that was pretty perfect weight-wise. This is why I love weighing things, because I just love the accuracy of it. It's very satisfying. I hate that when you make a batch of cooking, you accidentally make some big, some small, and then you know you're gonna eat all the big ones first, obviously, and then you're gonna be left with all the small ones. You're like, oh, this is such a letdown. The other ones were so much bigger. So, these are all done now. As you can see, we were a little bit strapped for space, but we were all good. I will pop this in the oven now for about 15 minutes, but I'm going to check after 10. You do want them to be quite brown on top, but do keep in mind that the longer you cook them, the denser the cookie will be, and they can be a little bit, cloying is the wrong word, but remember there's no moisture in here apart from bananas. So the longer you cook them, the more they will dry out. So that's why I like to check at 10 minutes just in case. See, I have just popped these out of the oven, so I'm being very careful because this baking tray is very, very hot. Now, all in all, they ended up being in the oven for about 15 minutes. So I set a timer for 10 minutes, that went off, I checked on them. I then left it for a minute or so, set another timer for 3 minutes. All in all, about 15 minutes. And I would say that I wouldn't want them any browner than that, because then they are, as I said before, gonna be a little bit on the drier side. Now, I will try and they should just come off the baking sheet straight away. I'll try and show you one. They are very nice and soft. As you can see, the texture, oh, the steam's coming out. That's getting very, very hot. These are delicious. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but if you like protein oats, it's kind of like that in cookie form. And you can personalize them any way you want. They are very, very macro friendly as well. I will pop all of the stats regarding that sort of stuff if that's just, how do people say, shtick. I will also put the recipe down below in the description box. If you do make these cookies, please share them on social media, tag me, make them your own. You know, put a little personalization spin on there, and so I can see it and I can share them, and yeah. Let's start a revolution of the macro-friendly banana protein oat cookie. I'm off to go eat one of these now with a nice cup of peppermint tea. If you do like these type of recipe style videos, please do let me know and I can make more. Look, I'm a creature of habit, kind of eat the same things every day. So this is probably a good thing for me to branch out and just get a bit more creative. I make a batch of these every single week. I could probably make them now with my eyes closed. I also do want to do a little tutorial on how to make my cream of rice, because I keep explaining to people and no one can get it. So I think if I make a video on it, at least then when people ask me, oh Amy, how do you make a cream of rice? I can go, I've got a video for that. And that's kind of why I made this video as well, because I'm always eating these, I'm always posting about them on Instagram, and if you're not following me on there already, you should be. And people are always saying, how do you make those, or what's the recipe? And yes, I did make a post on Instagram on how to do it, but sometimes you just want to watch someone do it to get the general vibe of, okay, is this gonna be for me or not? These are definitely for you. I'm gonna wrap this video up here because it's gone on for long enough, and I really wanna eat one of these because they smell very, very good. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Leave any comments below, leave any requests, that's the word I'm looking for. And I will see you all in my next video.